first thing in the morning when you get up at 6 o'clock. Why this was a big risk. This presentation for me. Um, did you consider? I know you wanted to do it. Did you consider me and my perspective when you were developing this presentation?
Yeah. We did have in mind that you mentioned you like her, but you, as you said, because she's a politician, you wasn't sure that it was the right fit. And also we did think about, well, we tried to
trying to work on her presentation. Yeah. We find it difficult to read to the theories because she's not from a business background. She's a politician.
But we did, yeah. So we did think about. We tried to not make it as political, because of what you said.
How difficult is it to not make it a political manifesto from polyshops, you know, or criticising what's going on out there? How difficult did you find that?
We found it difficult in relating to different types of theories, from being like, for example, within emotional intelligence, within the characteristics and traits. Some of the characteristics and traits, for example, work ethic. Work ethic was related to business, but we had to really think about how it could relate to the context of being a political leader. Even though she had to work as well, it's slightly different to a business context. Whereas if people have to work, it's really working on different types of processes and strategies. And whereas Aung San Suu Kyi, we did find a sort of correlation because she actually did have strategies in the way what she did and what she was campaigning for as well. So it was sort of hard, but at the same time, it was able to get along with her quite well.
Anything else?
I think when we were talking about recommendations, because obviously it's to do with an effective leader, and it was kind of hard to figure out what we could say, because Aung San Suu Kyi, she's actually done a lot in her life. I mean, I don't think any of us, or I don't think that any business leaders I know who would actually sacrifice so much just to get to where they are now. So I think that was a difficult part of doing this presentation.
Nothing that springs to mind for me.
Can't hear you.
Nothing really springs to mind for me. Like, what else we do?
What challenges was presented, put forward?
None that really spring to mind to myself.
Yeah, in terms of the recommendations, I mean, we had to recommend how this amazing woman who's achieved so much could be better, which was difficult to do it without focusing so much on politics. For example, the last point with the citizenship laws, we wanted to touch upon it, but didn't want to go into too much detail just because it's not really related to her effectiveness. It's more related to the country's issues. But yeah, that was quite difficult, the recommendation. That's why we said for her to persevere, continue doing what she's doing.
Okay. One of the things that comes to mind when thinking about this presentation, do you think there's a difference between the way men's leadership and female leadership?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a big difference, or at least it shouldn't. But I mean, I believe just as two men and two women can be not alike, it would be the same for a woman and a man. They would not be the same because they're two different individuals, not a wife or a female or a man. But of course, even though we're in the 20th centuries, 21st centuries, there's probably still people that question females as a leader. Yes.
Culturally.
Yeah. And
I agree with that. I feel as if it's harder for a woman to stick out as a leader than a man. Because for a man, it's quite easy to go up the ranks in organisations. Whereas for women, they really need to put in serious effort to that twice, to almost 1.5 as much as effort to really make sure that they're looking like the person that people should be following.
And I also believe that she really managed to prove that she as a woman can be a very effective leader, and also how much she had achieved for her country.
Okay, can men learn from women?
Absolutely.
Can men learn from women?
Yeah. Well, I thought if I learned from Aung San Suu Kyi obviously on a social and personal competence level, because of the fact that she was able to keep herself under house arrest. She could have done anything. She wasn't poor or anything like that. She was actually a person that was quite good wealth, but she decided to use her power to create campaigns and speeches, and also the fact that her husband, which Sonia was recently touched on, was the fact that she left her husband to fight for a cause, and even though her husband may not have agreed with it, she still believed strongly that that's what exactly she wanted, and what it led the husband to do was to follow her as a leader, and that's what we believe that made her quite more effective, because of the fact from what happened with her husband was the fact he had cancer, and when he had cancer, he couldn't even see her at the time, but within that time she was under house arrest, and while she was under house arrest, he was still picking up her Nobel Peace trophies and all the different types of trophies that she was collecting. So she had followers all around her, and I think that's something that's quite.
And moreover, she was also given an opportunity to go back to UK to see her husband, but she refused it, as she knew that if she went outside the country, she won't be allowed back.
Okay, final question. Do you think I should change the parameters of presentation 1 to include political type leaders, or not? Director?
Yeah, I think you could allow people to choose any leader, not just business related. It gives groups more opportunity to enforce creativity in it, because they have to think of other things other than the top ones that people usually do.
Yeah, and also I think for your sake, because you've done this quite a lot of years, and you'll probably hear a lot about the same leaders, and I believe it could be also a fresh contribution for you as well, and always, I mean, political is a very hard subject because it has so many different views and objectives, but it could be fun to have a kind of discussion around it and have and see what different views and
There are so many effective politicians all around the world. For example, Nelson Mandela and this one Mahatma Gandhi. So their life stories can be, inspire a lot of people. They're sitting because most of them may not know who he is. So if you allow people to present them, it's gonna create more awareness, and people gonna learn more about it.
I don't think you should change it because it's my opinion. Because,
You're allowed, my love.
yeah, because even though you made the exception with us, but I think that business leaders are like, since we're studying like HRM and general business management, at least I'm studying, I think business leaders are giving more knowledge based on business in general.
So you can learn more from business.
Yeah, I'm not saying you didn't learn anything from Aung San Suu Kyi, but I could actually learn more from business leaders than actual leaders, general leaders.
I mostly agree with Sana, Sonia, and Rakesh and Jason. Oh, sorry, Rakesh, but not Jason as much, because of the fact. I agree with the fact that it does give you quite a diverse range of things that you can actually think about, and people that will probably be inspirational towards people, and for people to be able to get more of a knowledge of somebody. When it comes to business leaders, I think it could be harder to find primary research as well, and all different types of research methods in the methodology. However, as a political leader as well, I think there is a bit of a complication with being able to understand who exactly the leader is, because sometimes in documentaries and secondary research, they put the leader in one type of light, but maybe if we went to another country, then the leader will probably have a completely different type of perception. So I think it's a bit of
I agree with Rakesh, Mimi, and Sonia on what they said about how you should take on board with politicians, because they do lead a certain amount of people, whether it's a country or a small group of people or wherever. I mean, it just allows you to see how they think and what they bring, other than business leaders, because you do see other people do the business leaders. So I think it should be in the modules.
Personally, I again believe that you should maybe be a bit more flexible about politicians, but I would say do something similar like you did with us, and like ask us to make a compelling case why we feel the politician would be a good enough effective leader to present, and also to get the class's consent.
Putting those two things
Yeah.
right actually made a difference. Okay, finally, what's the number one thing you've learned from the project?
Throughout, it's actually getting to rehearse, because we've actually rehearsed in this room a couple of times now, and having all of us here. And in the past 2 weeks, we managed to do that, which I felt was really good and important.
Important for you?
Yeah.
teamwork makes the dream work.
Teamwork leads to dream work.
Teamwork
Nice.
Teamwork makes dream work.
Teamwork
So,
is good.
okay, so explain that.
Well, I think when you have people that want to really get what they want stuff done, it puts up, like, I've never really had a group which is just like everybody wants to do it, everybody's ready to be there. Especially like when we was waking up early and coming in at 8:30. I was usually the one that was coming in at 8:30. Like, where's everyone else? I came in at 8:15, and they're like, what are you doing? That kind of thing. So I was like, wow, I was quite impressed. And I realised, obviously, if you're like from the last question you asked the last group, being a manager and being a leader, I've realised when you're a leader, you lead from the front. Whereas a manager, he kind of tells everyone, you go do this, you do that. Whereas the leader is actually somebody that just comes in and does what they have to do, and that's what I think everyone in the group has formed at one certain stage.
Having a good effective team actually gets the work done, and we actually met up like lots of times, rehearsed, and met each other.
No, I believe that as well, because when we were rehearsing with the presenters, even the producer and the director were equally involved. While we were presenting, they were sitting at back, they were watching our presentation and they were making notes. What are we doing wrong? And after when we finished the presentation, they used to tell us, "Oh, this is what you are doing wrong, and this is what you need to work on." So the whole team was fully involved. They were not just doing their own part; they were equally involved with the others as well.
Yeah, so that it was very like you mentioned that when we are a group that everyone wants to contribute and everyone wants to achieve well, it really makes it more fun to do a group work. And as well as in the first group meeting we had, when we took the group photos where we had the trusting exercises, was actually a lot of fun because we didn't really know each other that well, and then being so close and doing sense of that really built like a foundation of that. Hopefully starting group work.
I think time management organisation is key, and I realised that more firstly through the report, and particularly in the presentation, because we kept track of everything we did with progress reports and the time logs, etc. When it came to, for example, doing a presentation pack, I managed to do it very fast. I was like, I'm surprised it wasn't that much work. But it's because we were organised the whole way through.
Absolutely.
I feel like flexibility and resourcefulness were probably the most important thing for the group work, especially because flexibility, that all of us like the first meeting, some of us were late, but we all made it in no matter what the problem is, and we've all been here on time since. And also, we're all really resourceful in terms of all the references we had in the slides, and even called up one of our friends to take our group photos, which we showed in our first group report. So they were really important to the group, to the work.
Okay, and the final point is about the roles. You touched on it. In terms of the camera person, producer, and the director, how involved did you need to be to get this project done?
We were all pretty involved.